What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. Team selection time for Game Week 27. I'm going to look at my Game Week 26 team first. I did wildcard, right? So I'm going to talk about that rather than hitting the triple captain on Salah. If you do enjoy these videos, keep supporting them. Please do. Hit that like button and obviously subscribe if you're new around here as well. That really helps out the channel. So I did wildcard. I got 133 points, which, like, sometimes when you make a big decision against what the community's doing, like, it all feels like doom and gloom. And I got so many mentions about, do you regret doing it? Should you have triple captain Salah? Was it a mistake to wildcard, right? It feels like doom and gloom, but I did get a green arrow, right? I got a 5,000 place green arrow. I'm pretty set up for the next few weeks. Is it a mistake? I feel like there's a lot of people out there that want me to say it was a mistake. It doesn't look good is what I would say. I still think it's too early to tell. I think I still have got my triple captain chip left. I will probably use it on Mo Salah in Game Week 29. The fixtures are not as good, of course, but this is Mo Salah, right? Could he get kind of 15 plus points against Brighton away and Arsenal away? That would be my hope. And obviously that reduces the damage that he's done this week. My kind of realistic worst case scenario with Salah was 25 points. So the fact that he got 28 is a bit of a killer. And obviously, if people have said, if you could go back, would you triple captain Salah and take the hits? Of course I would, right? I'd always go back and do the decision that got the most points, right? That's just, why would you not do that? So that's just all hindsight. I don't want to say that this was a completely bad decision, because a few different outcomes and the conversation changes. Like, I know Salah was unlucky to not get more points from open play, but if I told you that Salah was going into Norwich and Leeds and only getting one goal from open play, you'd probably be thinking, oh, really? Is that going to happen? That is what happened, but he happened to get 2 penalties as well. So that was a bit of a killer. I know he deserved more points. I'm not playing down Salah's score, but that's just the kind of swing that can happen. Van Dijk plays Norwich, doesn't get a clean sheet, okay? Gets a goal against Leeds, brilliant, huge score. Had he got another 4 points there? It's just all these small things. Lacazette doesn't get a goal and bonus points. It ends up being an assist and a own goal for Sarr. With 10 minutes to go in that game, I've got 6 players. Most of them are blanked, but I did have Sice and Sarr on clean sheets and bonus points. Then the clean sheet goes with 10 minutes to go. These are just all these little swings, right? Son, everyone thought he was going to smash Burnley. He gets 2 assists against Man City. Suddenly you think there's a huge score coming for him, and he doesn't get anything against Burnley. And this is the problem with kind of basing everything on outcomes. Had a few different things gone my way, had I got maybe even like 10 or 15 more points, suddenly you're thinking, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. But right now, I will admit that it does look pretty weak. Like, if I look at the maths, I got 133 points on my wildcard. If I hadn't wildcarded, I would have got 96 points. So I think realistically, I would have taken a minus 16 this week. I did say that big hits were looking good this week. So I had to bring in Salah, of course. I would have brought in Lacazette, Son, Saka and Tierney. So the players I wouldn't have had would have been my 3 Wolves players and Van Dijk. So that's why the difference in points is so big. So I actually gained like 37 points from the wildcard, which is big. If you could get that in 1 week, bearing in mind I've also set myself up for 28, 29 and 30, that's actually huge. But of course, I could have triple captained Salah if I'd taken the hits instead, and that would have put me on 124 points, and I'd still have the wild card for later. So that's a pretty strong position. Obviously, if my triple captain in 29 gets quite a few points, like if it gets anywhere near 28, like if he gets 20 plus, which I don't think is likely, but if he does, then suddenly the damage is massively minimised. I'm set up really well for 28, 29, 30, and then it looks a lot better. But so we can't really judge it right now. But yes, for the people that want me to admit it was a mistake, if I could go back in time and change it, I probably would just take the hits instead. I think if you didn't take hits and you've still got a wild card in Game Week 28, then the position's not quite as strong. So I think if you took loads of hits, you're free hitting this week, and you can get through 28, 29, and 30 without wild card. Those people are probably in the strongest position. But overall, without dwelling on it too much, I think it went pretty well outside of the Salah triple captain. I just wish he got a few less points. So I'm set up well for the future. Let's talk about Spitch, and then we'll go ahead for Game Week 27. So happy to say that Spitch are continuing to support the channel by sponsoring today's video. If you haven't checked out Spitch, there is a link in the description below to get it downloaded. It's weekly fantasy football. You don't have to worry about managing a team over a whole season. You need to be 18 or over. There are paid for games as well, so make sure you gamble responsibly. There's links in the description below to begambleaware.org too. Now, I'm going to quickly show you how I did last week. So if I go on to my games at the bottom and finish games, I actually finished rank 390th this week. So that was pretty good. Now, obviously, we've got to move on to game week 27 as well. So you can play the free game if you want. And like I said, all those paid for games too. So this is my team. I think it's looking pretty good. Double Spurs attack, few Man United players in there, few Southampton players to get going with the good fixtures this week. So I'm just going to choose my captain. I'm actually going to choose Kane. There's no double game weeks in this or anything like that. And then I'm going to join it, and that is it, right? I'm in. Now, what I want you to do is sign up to try and compete against me. So I've got a community called Let's Talk FPL. So in the description, there's going to be one link, the top one, to download the app. Then the second link is going to be to join the community. Let's see who can get the most points this week. Do you think you can beat me? Like I said, this is my team that I've got here. Captaining Harry Kane. Looks pretty good. I've got the triple Spurs attack with Kulusevski as well. Can you beat that? If you think you can, get it downloaded. Like I said, you just need to be 18 or over, gamble responsibly and all that good stuff, of course. Click that top link to download it. Second link to join the Let's Talk FPL community. Let's see who's the best. Right, I hate to say it for non-free hitters this week, but I am on a free hit. So my team selection for 27 is going to be my free hit team, okay? So I'm going to go through and kind of go it defence, midfielder, forward, but then also talk about the players that are locked in and those that are kind of still subject to change. And obviously, we've still got press conferences today, but the video has to go out before then because we just don't have much time, right? Because it's a Friday deadline. So Nick Pope is a lock. I don't, apart from injuries, of course, and all that stuff, Nick Pope's a lock. I don't see me going for a different goalkeeper. I just think he is a better option than the Burnley defenders when you get save points and bonus and stuff like that taken into account. So he's pretty much a lock. I think Cancelo's pretty much a lock as well. I will probably, closer to the deadline, toy with the idea of maybe going triple Man City attack. But I just think Cancelo is so good, right? I haven't sold him from my normal team with my wildcard thinking he's a bad option. But for this week against Everton, we know the damage he can do. Obviously, defensive returns are looking good this week, and he can always get an attacking return as well. So he's a lock as well. I think a Burnley defender is definitely a lock for me too. One thing I've overlooked for sure this week is the fact that Connor Roberts has come in to play right back for Burnley. Now, I thought Loughton got injured, but from what I can tell, he was just on the bench. It looked like he just lost his place. So Roberts might actually be nailed, and he's a little bit cheaper. Whether or not he's more attacking, the numbers don't necessarily suggest that. Like, I had a quick look at his expected data. It doesn't look fantastic to me compared to like a Ben Mee or a Tarkowski that can get possibly points from set pieces and stuff like that. So I'm on Ben Mee right now. I tell you what, completely illogical thinking, but because he's just scored in game week 26, I'm thinking, can he really do it again in game week 27? Similar with Maguire, to be honest. So I might change him to James Tarkowski if I have enough money. But I think I'm going to go for a second Burnley defender because ultimately I want three. There's no reason not to go for three Burnley players, in my opinion, on a free hit. And I don't want Cornet because I just think he's a little bit of a minutes risk or an injury risk as well. Just general fitness issues too. And I just don't think I want to go for Dwight McNeil right now or anyone else. So I'm probably going to go for a second defender. Second defensive player. It'll probably be Ben Mee. It'll probably or Tarkowski. I probably won't go for Roberts, to be honest. Then I've got Maguire for Man United. So I do think the way I've set my team up, I kind of do want a Man United defender because I think Watford's a pretty good chance at a clean sheet. And obviously Maguire does offer attacking returns. Again, I'm a little bit annoyed that he got his freaking goal against, in game week 26. I did already have him in my free hit team before that goal happened. So again, is he going to do it twice in a row? I mean, Dawson obviously scored pretty close together 2 goals, but that is in the back of my mind. I think if I knew 100% which fullbacks were going to start, I'd maybe switch. I think the Man United backline will probably be Dalot right back, Varane and Maguire, and then left back is the hardest position, Shaw or Telles, because I think Telles came on against Atletico Madrid and he did offer a bit more going forward, and obviously against Watford, Man United are going to have quite a lot of the ball, and you'd imagine that Ranić will want a bit more of an attacking setup from his fullbacks. So there's a small part of me that thinks that Telles might start this week, but I don't know if I'm sure enough to go for it because my bench isn't looking fantastic, right? Now, I've put Bednarak on my bench because Livramento may or may not play. Perot is back now. And before he got, I think it was a positive COVID test, something like that. Maybe it was a small injury. I can't quite remember. But he was playing alongside Kyle Walker-Peters. So Perot was playing left back and Kyle Walker-Peters was playing right back. In the last game, Perot missed out, so Livramento came back in and Kyle Walker-Peters went to left back. And I'm just a little bit worried now, if they're all fit and available, which ones are going to start. So I'm probably just going to go for Bednarak on the bench, along with Elanga, who I also think is going to start and is a pretty good enabler. So Harry Maguire's in. If I get any kind of inkling or information that Tellez is going to start, I may well switch. But I think I'm going to go for a Man United defender. The only other kind of player right now I'm thinking about is Cresswell, who I do think is a genuinely good option this week, and I may end up putting in. But for now, Harry Maguire's in. That's the defence. So I think in midfield, realistically, probably only Son is a 100% lock bar an injury. I'm just not that worried about Spurs. I know they haven't won against Burnley or Southampton or Wolves recently, and obviously the only win they got was that Man City game. But Leeds give up so many chances. Like in game week 26, once I saw Man United put 4 past Leeds, obviously I knew they were a bad defence, but the manner in which it happened, where I didn't think, obviously the weather wasn't great, I didn't think Man United were like really at the top of their game, and they still put 4 past Leeds. It was at that point I was super worried about what Salah was going to do to them. So that is what I just think it's the fixture. So who cares what's happened in the previous games? We know how good Son is. He is 100% lock. I know he's going to start, and that is where the problems kind of start with the rest of the team. So I kind of want to play, whether you want to call it aggressive, different, whatever. I think most people, if you're going to play it safe, you probably go for double Man City defence this week. But I think there's a good chance that Mahrez and Sterling both start. My only worry is apparently Jesus and Grealish are back to training now. Hopefully they've been out for long enough where they won't come straight back into the side. And as always with Man City, there's always a worry that players will get brought off early, right? And that's not ideal either. But I think if Sterling and Mahrez, if I do think they start, and I'm going to check predicted lineups and stuff like that later, then there's a huge upside with those players because they could score a few goals against Everton. I don't think Everton have been defensively sound at all this season. I don't think they're any better defensively under Lampard either. And it's the kind of team that Man City could just rip apart. Like you could see 3, 4, 5 goals in a fixture like this. And obviously Mahrez is the penalty taker, which is big upside. And I think Sterling, like, whether or not Sterling is playing that much better than Foden right now, I don't know. But I think it's close enough where I'm going to go for the player that's kind of less owned, right? Less people own Sterling than own Foden. And I don't think Foden's a bad choice. And look, there's every chance that I might put Foden in at some point. But right now I'm just on Sterling as the big differential in a team that I know can score goals. Interestingly, unless prices have changed, Sterling and Sancho is exactly the same price as Fernandes and Foden. Now, if I think Sterling, Mahrez and Foden all start, there's every chance that I will switch Sterling and Sancho to Fernandes and Foden because I think although Sterling got the hat-trick recently and in our heads we think that Sterling can score more goals, on his day Foden can get hauls as well. And Fernandes is probably, I don't know, maybe a bit safer for starts than Sancho. To be honest, for what it's worth, I think Sancho does start again. He looks pretty nailed right now. I think it's much more likely that Rashford misses out for Elanga. There's not really anyone else that can come in and do what Sancho does. So again, I like that as the differential. I'm just worried I'm trying to think. I wouldn't say I'm thinking outside the box because everyone's looking at Man City attackers and Sancho and Fernandes. But am I trying to be too clever? Should I just go for Foden and Fernandes instead? But again, as it stands, that's the midfield. And I kind of like it this week. I think there's potential for a lot of points there and hopefully not too much misery. Okay, so I think my forward line is 100% locked in. I don't see it changing too much. The only thing I could possibly do is switch to a 3-5-2 and maybe drop Broja to someone else if I had the money to do it. But there is nothing in the bank as it stands. And I don't think there's a midfielder for 5.5 or less that is better than Broja right now. I should say my team value is maybe not the greatest. There's people with very similar teams to this, if not pretty much identical teams, apart from Sancho, is Fernandes instead. If I had the money to do that, would I do that? Quite possibly. But I'm okay with Sancho, to be honest. With the forward line, I think Weghorst is nailed as my captain. I know what's going to happen, right? If he blanks or if Pope lets in a goal in each game, right, doesn't get the clean sheet, then all we're going to see afterwards is we got sucked into Burnley. Why do we always get sucked into these double game weeks? But ultimately, I think Weghorst is a pretty good option generally. I said that straight away. As soon as he got the double, I said he would be my captain. None of this is now changed because of his goals recently or his performances. Like, it was probably going to happen anyway. I think Leicester is a fairly open defence this year. Like, they've just been very poor. I don't see that changing too much like this week, and the reverse fixture for Burnley and Crystal Palace, if I really quickly look and go all the way with a few clicks back to game week 12, I think it was 3-3. Now, I'm not saying that past results like that mean it's going to be another high scoring game, but who knows what we're going to get from the Palace game. So ultimately, I think Weghorst is probably the best captain. I said that on the video yesterday. There's a case to be made for Kane, Son. There's a case to be made for the Man City midfielder if you get it right as well. You know, if you get the right attacker from Man City, the one that absolutely goes and smashes it, gets a hat-trick like Sterling did recently, then that's absolute gold. But I just want to go for a double game week player, and it's probably got to be Weghorst. I don't think Pope is a bad option either, to be honest. I think Burnley have done pretty well defensively recently. I just think that Leicester are always a team that can score. And something I didn't say in the review of my wildcard, had I not wildcarded, I wasn't really that keen on Wolves defenders this week because I thought that Arsenal and Leicester were both pretty good for goals. So that is one thing that kind of puts me off Pope. I think Weghorst can get a return in both games. I don't know if Pope can. So I'm probably going to captain Weghorst. Kane's a lock as well. Similar reasons for Son. I don't care what's happened with Spurs recently. They're playing Leeds. That's always a good fixture. Even though it's away, which isn't as ideal as playing at home, I still think there's points in it for them. And also they're nailed, right? I've got concerns over Mahrez and Sterling's minutes and maybe even Sancho to a lesser extent. I don't have that with Son and Kane, so they're definitely in. With Broja, there's a few people that have asked me about Che Adams. I got to be honest, like we're only looking at Che Adams because he scored recently. And if you think that form is a thing, then great. But I don't think it's necessarily the best way to predict who's going to score in the future. Broja, underlying numbers, expected goals and stuff like that is generally a little bit better than Che Adams. And he is where my money would be. Now, obviously for me, again, I've got a lack of team value. I don't have the money to upgrade. But would I go for Che Adams as a differential? I don't know if I would. I'm just not bothered about not having... Like, I'm much more bothered about not having the money to do Sancho to Fernandes than I am about Broja to Che Adams. In fact, I don't care about not having the money to go to Che Adams. I'm perfectly happy with Broja. So I don't see the team setup changing too much. Like, even if I wanted to switch to 3-5-2 or something like that and get rid of Broja for a midfielder, I'd still need a bit of money to upgrade. I could drop Maguire down to Dalot to get that money. But who would I go for? I'm not the biggest fan of Ward-Prowse. If I go for Zaha, okay, he could do really well. And he's a pretty good option this week, to be honest. But I'm hoping that Palace won't score. So I'm kind of doubling down on the Burnley defence by not getting a Palace attacker in as well. And obviously, I've said that before, that in a normal week, it doesn't really matter if your attackers are playing your defenders. That happens, right? But in a free hit, you can actively look to avoid that. And as far as I know, I've not got any players playing against each other, so you're trying to go for the most upside. And to be honest, I think the free hit kind of picks itself in a lot of positions. So right now, Pope, a Burnley defender, Cancelo, Son, Kane, Weghorst, pretty much Broja as well, I think. That's 7 players that are locked in. I think I'm probably going to go for Man United defender. So really, it's just Sancho, Sterling and Mahrez. I think Sterling, Mahrez and Foden will all start. I will check predicted lineups later on and see what other people think, see if I'm wrong. So I don't see this team changing too much. I know Tsimikas hasn't got a game, but I'm hoping I wouldn't need more than Elanga and Bednarak off the bench anyway. So that's my team locked in. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Obviously, do give the video a like if you enjoyed it and hit that subscribe button. Hopefully, the wildcard comes good over the next few weeks. Let's see what happens with the bench boost in game week 28, of course, as well, and the triple captain in 29. Maybe things will look a bit rosier after that. Maybe they'll look worse. Who knows? Don't forget to check out Spitch if you haven't already. 18 and over. Links in the description below. Also, join my community as well. Let's see who the best of the best is for that too. Otherwise, I will see you later for the deadline stream.